Over the past week, I've been missing in action, and I couldn't have taken a worse time to celebrate America's birthday because so many things have gone on. From the Secret Service finding cocaine at the White House, to the Supreme Court releasing a verdict on two very important cases, to a report about how much of a failed job Joe Biden did on its pullout of Afghanistan. You bet we are going to be talking about all of that and more in today's episode.
Facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
So yeah, if you have not noticed, I've been MIA for the last week, and I just wanted to celebrate America's birthday because that was on July 4th, 1776, and you might ask me why it was that I wanted to take that week off. Well, I wanted to celebrate in the best state in the United States, Florida. But I'll tell you all about it in the next video coming soon. But in the meantime, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this situation. Starting from the beginning, going back 1 week ago on July 2nd, a quote unknown item was found in the west wing of the White House, which triggered a brief evacuation of the White House and drew a hazmat team to investigate. The initial dispatch call stated that the white powdery substance was found in the residence library on the ground floor of the building. However, officials familiar with the incident told the Post the purported cocaine was found in a holding area in the West Wing that is accessible to both White House staff and guests. So, if you take a look around the people close to Joe Biden, you can see that Hunter Biden might be the perfect person that might have did something like this. But based on history of his cocaine use, we can infer this situation. But if we look into it further, we can see that Biden was at Camp David, and at the time of the incident, as was his son. So, who exactly did this? They're not telling us. All we know right now is that if we look into the West Wing of the White House and what it is for, it's for visitors. And they need to go through this building to actually get checked. But they don't play around when it comes to the security of the nation's capital. But more importantly, the West Wing is an invite only and holds the Oval Office, the offices of the executive staff, the cabinet room, the Roosevelt room, and the press briefing room. So this is the most important part of the White House. But this leaves us with a few questions. Well, way more than that, but a few important ones. How exactly did they find this crack? Was it spilled all over the floor, or was it on the table? Also, who left it? We must know who went in and out of the nation's capital, right? Right? No, we don't. So how do we not have 24-hour security cameras at the White House? How about we run a full investigation and start questioning people that have been at the West Wing of the White House? No? We don't want to do that either? Okay then. This administration in the White House would rather just say that they don't know who it was and just keep the facade that the Biden administration is doing a good job as security. But the reality is that they can't even keep crack out of the White House. How are they supposed to keep meth out of America's borders? You can even look at the White House press secretary for answers. When we do that, this is all we get.
The Biden family was not here. They were not here. They were at Camp David. They were not here Friday. They were not here Saturday. They were not here Sunday. They were not even here Monday. They came back on Tuesday. So to ask that question is actually incredibly irresponsible. And I'll just leave it there.
So I guess we don't get any answers. She just always tells the truth, right? And the full truth. And she stands by the promise that the Biden administration said that it is very transparent, right? No, KJP would never admit to anything, any question that they ask her, she just does not want to answer. So far, to date, she's only answered about 5 questions about this topic. So this is a big fail for the Biden administration, once again, to add the huge pile of shit that they like to call his achievements. Moving on to the headlines of the week. Okay, so starting with the first article, we actually have a Daily Wire article. We have, most Americans support Supreme Court decision on affirmative action poll. So, despite scenes of protests and statements of disapproval from the leadership of colleges and universities across the country, the majority of Americans are supportive of the recent Supreme Court decision restricting race based college admissions. And this is actually very good. You know why? Because of the fact that Asians were highly discriminated against just based off of their race purely. This is a pure and blatant disregard for the 13th Amendment that we implemented to restrict this very thing. That's exactly what the Supreme Court came out and said. But of course, we don't like following the Constitution here in America because a couple of people decide that does not follow the Constitution. So no, this is not constitutional. So if we follow the Constitution that is so holy to the Democrats, then they don't like the Constitution. They want to abolish it. But if we have other things that they do like that are implemented because of the Constitution, then they love the Constitution. They only like the Constitution when they can get their way. If the Constitution stands in the way of getting what they want, then they don't like the Constitution and they want to get rid of it. According to a new ABC News poll conducted after a high court's decision on Thursday, 52% of Americans believe the ruling against Harvard University and University of North Carolina's affirmative action policies was the right one. On the other hand, 32% of Americans disapprove of the decision, while 16% are unsure. Okay, how are you unsure? Just don't vote. I hate when there's answers like this. 16% are unsure. How are you unsure? Pick yes or no. Pick the top one. Pick the bottom one. Pick an answer. You're unsure? Think about it and then come back to the poll. The poll found that the vast majority of Republicans, 75%, are the most independents. In most independents, 58% agree with Justices John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. On race-based admissions, just 26% of Democrats feel the same way, according to the poll. Broken down along racial lines, most white people, 60%, think that the decision was the right one, while 58% of Asians agree. Among Hispanics, 40% approve and 40% disapprove. 52% of black people disapprove, of course, because then that means that they cannot get into this college purely based off of this affirmative action. So, of course they're not going to like it. Quote, most white people believe that people of all racial backgrounds have a fair chance to get into college of their choice. Revealing the results said, compared that to black Americans, mostly of whom believe that black people have an unfair disadvantage. Similarly, a significant minority of Latino Americans believes people of their ethnic group have an unfair disadvantage. On Thursday, the court ruled that the race-based admissions programs at Harvard violated Title 11 of the Civil Rights Act, and the University of North Carolina violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The court voted 6-3 in the University of North Carolina case and 6-2 in the Harvard case. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, a Harvard graduate and former Harvard board member, recused herself from the Harvard case. Hundreds of universities that consider race and admissions in scholarship decisions will now have to find non-race related ways to replace affirmative action. Actually skills? Wait a second. You need to actually use your skills to get this grant or to get into this college? Wait a second. So this is a purely merit-based thing? Wait a second. We can't have that. Why are we going to have a merit-based society instead of a race-based society? Looking at somebody not because of the color of their skin is something that can come only from the upside down. The poll also discovered that more Americans are not I forgot English. Let me restart. The poll also discovered that more Americans than not support the Supreme Court striking down President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness plan last week. 45% of Americans back the decision from the court, while 40% believe that the president had the authority to forgive federally subsidized student loans. Additionally, 43% of Americans believe that the Supreme Court made the right call in 303 Creative LLC v. Invis, which ruled that Lurie Smith could not be forced by state civil rights law to design websites that run counter to her sincerely held religious beliefs. 42% of Americans believe that that was the wrong decision, and 14% say that they don't know. If you don't know, don't answer the question. It's like your friend asks you a question, and you're like, I don't know. Okay, then think about it, and then respond. Because I would rather you tell me an answer than say, I don't know where I want to go out to eat. I'm feeling like I want like a little bit of everything in our area. No, you tell me what you want. You tell me what you want to vote for, and then that's it. On the ballot, when we vote for presidents, you don't say, okay, do you want Obama or Clinton, or do you want Obama or Trump? Let's just say those two. I don't know. You're not going to say that on the ballot. Vote for the answer. Don't say, I don't know. If you don't know, close the tab, do your research, and then come back to it and then answer. Okay, it's that easy. Now, 42%, as for this, 42% of Americans. So 42% of Americans disagree with this. Okay, so you think that you should be forced by the state to do business with somebody that does not go along with what you believe in. So let's just say here that a gay person works at a cake shop, and this radical over here, as they like to call him, comes over and says, I want you to bake me a cake for my hatred of gay people. Okay, and I want you to put blood inside of this cake. I want you to put a gay flag on the top, and as I cut into the gay flag, blood's gonna fall out of this cake. Now, you as a gay person has to make the cake. Let's just say that you're a gay person and you make websites, and somebody comes up to you and says that they want you to make a KKK website. Now, you're gonna be forced to make that website for them. So, do we really want to live in a society where the state's forcing you to do work in business with people that go against what you want to even do? Don't we have the freedom in America to choose which jobs we want to do and accomplish? Don't we in America have even the freedom to choose a job that we want to do? No, we don't. We don't, according to these 42% of people. But of course, America is not run by 42% of people. It's run by laws that are implemented through Congress, and then went through the Supreme Court, and then the Senate and stuff like that, and then signed by the president. Just the bill, the bill up on Capitol Hill. Yeah, this is the society that we live in. Now, I mean, more broadly, maybe not right now, it's not 100% like this, but it's supposed to be like this. That's how we sign bills. We get laws passed through the bill up on Capitol Hill. You know that song? Yeah, look it up. Anyway, moving on to the next article, we actually have a very good article from the Daily Wire. We have Sound of Freedom takes top spot at box office on 4th of July. This is excellent. Okay, so as you may have known, because at the beginning of the video I did say this, I was away on 4th of July, so I had no idea what movies were out. I don't even go to the movie theater. I have a Netflix account that I'm signed in from my parents. I don't even watch it. I mean, if I want to watch a movie, I can go on there. I have YouTube that I watch all the time. I have stuff like that. So I don't watch I barely watch movies. If I watch a documentary, it's going to be on like the Daily Wire or Prager University. It would be one of those things. Like, I wouldn't sit down and actually watch like a mainstream media movie, except for What is a Woman, which broke the mainstream. It's best documentary of all time. Recommend watching it. But other than that, I really don't sit down and watch movies. So I don't really know. I know that Barbie, it looks like a horrible movie. We should react to that trailer. But besides that, I don't follow what movies are out here. So I hear that this Sound of Freedom takes the top spot. So that means that it is a good movie. So for it to take the top spot over other movies like Indiana Jones, like, that's crazy. Let's just get into the article. So Angel Studios' Sound of Freedom took the top spot at the United States box office on July 4th, when the film finally hit theaters across the nation. The Jim Caviezel-led movie, which deals with the horrors of human trafficking, landed in the number 1 spot, beating out Disney's highly anticipated Indiana Jones and The Dial of Destiny, among others, Box Office Mojo reported. The new film from Angel Studios soared $14.2 million at the box office, $11.5 million at the direct box office, combined with another $2.6 million from a pay-it-forward tickets sold, per a release from the studio responsible for the popular faith-based television series The Chosen. The box office reports showed that The Sound of Freedom grossed $14,242,063 after the movie's opening on Tuesday, while Disney's Indiana Jones sequel, which opened on June 30th, earned $11,698,989 from the more than 4,000 theaters. Quote, thanks to fans all around the country, Sound of Freedom earned the top spot as America's #1 movie on Independence Day, Neil Horman, CEO of Angel Studios, shared in the studio's release. We've welcomed numerous messages telling us theaters are neither packed out or sold out, he added. The movie has now taken on a life of its own to becoming something more than that. A grassroots movement with an A+ cinema rating. We're on the top-rated movie in America, and we're going to see word of mouth spread even further going into the weekend. The world needs to see Sound of Freedom, and we know that our biggest competitive advantage, our incredible fans and investors, are going to make sure that happens, Herman continued. Country superstar John Rich took to Twitter to celebrate that the movie was, quote, smashing the box office expectations, amid reports that it was projected to score $20 million in its opening week. That's crazy. This is great. This is great because that means that more movies are going to come out from the little guys, the smaller studios, and it's going to be even bigger than the big box office studios. So that means that these box office studios are going to start looking at this and saying, well, we need to start changing what movies we actually start making because the customers don't want this poo-poo anymore. They want something new. They want something refreshing, like The Sound of Freedom. And I do want to see it now. I mean, if so many people are, and that's how it works. If so many people are going to watch a movie, then that must mean that it's good. But if a lot of people are going to see the movie and then coming out and saying, it's not that good, you'll hear about it. Okay, and in an A+ cinema rating, that's really good. So moving into the next section of this show, we actually have a dozen takes.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
So moving right into the first article we have is the CNN article. We actually have race neutral replaces affirmative action. What's next? Okay, so now they're just going to call it something else to go against the Supreme Court. That's just stupid. When the Supreme Court cut affirmative action out of the college admissions programs Thursday, it did not outlaw the goal of achieving diversity, but it set a new race-neutral standard for considering applicants. That term race-neutral does not appear in the opinion of the court, written by Chief Justice John Roberts, which state that colleges and universities have conducted wrongly, that the touchstone of an individual's identity is not challenges-based, skills-based, or lessons-based, learned, but the color of their skin. But when Roberts clarifies that students can still refer to their race in admissions studies essays, explaining college challenges they've overcome, he and the majority are buying into the idea of race neutrality. Justice Clarence Thomas, who wrote his own concurring opinion, uses the term race neutral repeatedly, offering it as an antidote to affirmative action, pointing to the efforts in California and in Michigan to enroll diverse classes at the top universities even after voters in those states ended affirmative action. Thomas says race neutral policies can achieve the same benefits of racial harmony and equality without any of the burdens and staffles generated by affirmative action policies. Okay, but you're taking his good thing that he said, and then you're going to go and trash all over it, and then completely fabricate what he said, and then completely just redesign it from the ground up, and then say, oh, this is what he wanted us to do. No, that's not what he wanted us to do. It's like your boss says, you need to get 10 pages of this report done by today. And then you say, okay, well, I technically got 5 pages, but then I got the AI to do the rest for me. And then the AI did so good that I just decided to scrap my first 5, and then the AI just completely just did it on its own. But then you didn't realize that the report that he wanted you to do it on was completely separate from what you actually did it. So now you didn't do anything that he wanted you to do at all because of the fact that you wanted to just make your own thing completely. That's exactly what they're trying to do here. Just as Sanita Sotomayor shot back at Thomas in the majority, rejecting the term. The majority's vision of race neutrality will enrich racial segregation in higher education because racial inequality will persist so long as it is ignored, she wrote. Okay, so that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so if you ignore skin color and purely base your ideas of this person based off of merit in the way that they can get the job done, in the way that they present themselves, in the way that they do the job. I said that before, but you get the point. If you purely base it off of merit, then that's racist. That doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? So if I look at you and say, "Oh, you're a black, you're this certain race, you need to get more things from me." Oh, I feel so bad for you. Like, that's not racist. But now if I'm sitting here saying, "Okay, hello, how's it going? Nice to meet you. I'm so-and-so," and then we get to know each other from there and we have a merit-based conversation and a merit-based relationship, that's bad? How is that bad? That doesn't make any sense. For more on this view, read the article. Okay, so I didn't really care about seeing that. Okay, so what have race-neutral admissions policies accomplished? Well, if the experience of California and Michigan, those where voters ended affirmative action programs years ago, is there any indication we can expect that the representation of Black and Latino students at the top level universities will fail? Those states argued that in briefings to the court that their race-neutral efforts have not been completely successful, particularly at top-tier flagship public schools, in creating environments that are inclusive for all, because of the fact that this world is not inclusive for all. It's you need to shape yourself to fit the world broadly. So if you say, "Oh, I'm fat," you need to say, "Okay, now I'm fat. I'm going to accept the fact that I am fat, and I'm going to lose weight," because that's the standard. That's the health standard that we have because of the fact that it's healthy to be not fat. Now, with that being said, we need to not do this because of the fact that if you're saying that we need to just let people in just purely based off of their skin, that's racist. Just like how we can look back at Martin Luther King, we can see that he even advocated for us not to base our ideas of a person off of the color of their skin. That's what he fought for, and that's why he got shot, because of the fact that he said, "No, don't judge me based off of just the fact that I am Black. Base me off of the fact that I am a man and I do good things for society in general." That's what he wanted us to do. While it had made strides, it says there's a shortfall, especially apparent at UC's most selective campuses, where African American, Native American, and Latinx students are unrepresented and widely report struggling with feelings of racial isolation. Okay, so how about you surround yourself with people that are like you then? If you think that you're isolated, how about if you go out and make some friends off of campus? Maybe you won't like everybody at your school, which you're being very selective then. But that's besides the point. Go out and find friends outside of the campus then. You're acting like just the campus is where you can have friends. The data from California. Well, in California, half of the college-aged population, 18 to 24, is Latino. Okay, so wait. So they did Latinx before. Now they're doing Latino now? Can you choose which one you want to use? CNN, you're just stupid. According to data from the Public Policy Institute of California, compare that with just 27% of enrollees for 2022 at the University of California's 9 undergraduate campuses, who the UC system categorizes as Hispanic/Latinx. Okay, so now in the same exact paragraph, you're using Latinx again. But before, you used Latino. And then before that, you used Latinx. Can you choose which one you want to use? On the other hand, less than 13% of college-aged population is Asian, compared with 38% of the UC's enrollees. A little more than a quarter of college-age Californians are white, compared to 18% of UC's enrollees. 5% of UC enrollees are African American, which is about on par with the 5.6% of college-age Californians who are black. The figures change in comparison with the system overall. At UC Berkeley's the system's flagship undergraduate campus, where a similar portion of entrants in 2022 were categorized as African American/Black, 3.6%, and Chinx/Latinx. Back to Latinx. And more were white, 30.7%, and Asian, 52.1%. Why exempt military academics? It's also interesting to note that Supreme Court exempt military academics from the discussion. They can presumably still utilize affirmative action, even though they are in the higher learning institutes over which the federal government has the most control. The court, according to the majority opinion, feels the academies have potentially dislinked interest. Those interests were perhaps outlined by former military leaders who wrote a brief last year arguing affirmative action aided national security. Meanwhile, even though race is off the table at the determinative factor, schools like Harvard University can and still will very much take into account whether an applicant's parents went there. What comes next? While the actual language of the Supreme Court will come across as very intellectual and astrologic, as if in the classroom, in reality, how will this work? Wondered Laura Coates, CNN's chief legal analyst, appearing on the network Thursday. Quote, how will you be able to have certain color blindness, but then at the same time allowed to take into account someone's experiences when race has been a part of it? That's the devil in the details of every affirmative action case. Okay, so at the same exact time, this is exactly what they want you to... Okay, so it's like explaining English to somebody that does not know English. Like, this is so obvious. Okay, so what the Supreme Court is saying here. Okay, and I'll just break down the Supreme Court. Okay, so the Supreme Court does not want you to write an essay to the college and say, I'm black, I'm black, I'm black, I'm black, a million times, and then expect to get in. The Supreme Court wants you instead to say, this is me, this is my story. I used to walk every single day to work because I am from a house that I am a lower income minority, and because of that, I was late to school. So you can see that I was late to school a lot of times, but I tried to get to school as quickly as I could because of the fact that I needed to walk to school. This is an example that they want to use. And this is an example that Clarence Thomas actually used. So you can tell that the chief analyst of CNN didn't even read the Supreme Court decision. So how are you supposed to have a idea of the Supreme Court decision if you didn't read the Supreme Court decision? It just does not make any sense to me. Of course, this is CNN. Moving on to the next article, we actually have an MSNBC article. If this would load, I would like to read it to you. Okay. Moving on to the next article, we actually have an MSNBC article. We have nothing about Moms for Liberty is new. That's why it's effective. Okay, so Moms for Liberty, if you do not know, is a group standing up for parental rights. This is the rights that parents have over their child's education. And this is a God-given right that parents should have when it comes to their kids' education. And if we don't have this right, then we're going to just retract our kids from the public schools and just put them into homeschools, and we'll just teach them ourselves. Because then they're going to get a better education, because the public schools did not teach me anything. As a professor who has written about 20 years about conservatives and women, it's clear to me that Moms for Liberty isn't just another flash in the pan organization. The members of Moms for Liberty who invaded Philadelphia on the weekend before July 4th holiday called their gathering the Joyful Warriors National Summit. Okay, so invaded? You know, they put on an event. What do you mean invaded? Oh, MSNBC, you're worse than CNN. Oh, God. But as a scholar who attended the conference to get a look at the organization, I can report that definition of joy isn't textbook one. It's more like the joy that comes from cruelty. Its members are true culture warriors who see themselves as such, and Philadelphia was their big training ground to fight the woke public educational system and, by extension, the United States. Okay, what's bad about this? Okay, so people that are moms are standing up for liberty and their freedom in America. So that's bad? As the group members walked between many of the protesters lining the streets in front of the convention hotel, one could see how their disdain for those protesters steeled them for the work ahead. These moms are on the crusade, a holy calling, and that's what makes them dangerous and effective. Okay, so they're guided by Jesus and God, so that means that they're bad. MSNBC. Don't say the quiet power out loud. You're not supposed to say this. Why are you coming out and say this? You're saying that just because they're following the Bible, they're bad. Okay, so you don't like the Bible. You're saying the quiet part out loud. We already know this. Like, we already knew this, MSNBC. You're just admitting the fact that what we've been telling you is that you are Bible-hating people that would rather celebrate the devil than Jesus. As a professor who have written for more than 20 years about conservatives and women, it's clear to me that Moms for Liberty isn't just another flash in the pan organization. It only exists since 2021, but in that short time, the group has quickly grown into a membership and amassed clout within the Republican Party and the conservative ecosystem. Moms for Liberty has fashioned itself into the tip of the spear on the Republican Party's culture wars, and its members may have already been raising hell at school board meetings near you. Good. They should be. Take the power away from the teachers' unions and the teachers, because the teachers are not our parents. The parents are our Moms for Liberty. But that's just a part of it. The group aims not to just to take over school boards, ban books, and help elect conservative candidates. Oh man, that's so bad. No, as the visits to the convention from the Republican presidential candidates, Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley. Oh my God, the worst people ever. And Vivek Wasami. Oh, no, MSNBC, you're so mad. Moms for Liberty intends to play a major role in choosing the Republican who runs for president in 2024, and it likely will destroy them. Destroy them. The group Moms for Liberty may be new, but its strategy is not. Education has always been a valuable culture war and wedge issue that one often attracts allies across class, race, and gender lines. Capturing school boards was a tactic religious right conservatives used to oppose progressive ideas such as sex education in the 1960s. Okay, and we know that's bad now. That's why it's banned. In 1974, a conservative-led battle and resistance multicultural textbooks that were purported in Kennesaw County, West Virginia, led to at least one protester being shot. Okay, and is that Moms for Liberty doing that? No, it's not. Just because an event is conservative-led and a shooter comes in and shoots somebody for stupid reasons and evil reasons and despicable reasons, why are you going to say that this is the conservatives that did that? It doesn't make any sense. It's like there was a shooting at an Obama event, and Obama needs to be blamed for it. No, we're not going to blame Obama. Just like Bernie Sanders, there was a shooting at his event. We're not going to blame Bernie Sanders for that. We're going to blame the evil, despicable person that did the shooting. Led to at least one protester being shot, others being beaten, cars being set on fire, and schools being dismantled and firebombed. Between then and now, we've seen a larger battle to effectively destroy public schools through voucher programs and charter schools. Okay, so you're relating this one event that happened in 1874 where crazy people were destroying public buildings, that's schools, and lighting cars on fire, to now choosing where you want to go to school. That does not make any sense. Where's the connection here? Not only is the strategy of focusing on education not new, the strategy of employing women isn't either. Moms for Liberty is similar to the Eagle Forum and Phyllis Scalify, founded in 1972, in her successful campaign to block the Equal Rights Amendment. Scalify Group used the rhetoric of protecting families to fight against the ERA and to promote anti-abortion and other conservative causes. Ronald Reagan and later other Republican presidential hopefuls understood the value of having women, white women mostly, expose conservative causes. Okay, so just because of the fact that the majority of people standing up for these causes just so happen to be white, they're racist now. That doesn't make any sense. Moms for Liberty, a much more sophisticated 21st century iteration of the Eagle Forum, is a concerned women's group with lots of backing, and unlike the Eagle Forum, has social media and a robust conservative media environment to support its messaging. At a convention sponsored in part by the Leadership Institute and the Heritage Foundation, attendees could sit on its sessions that included such titles as Protecting Kids from Gender Identity, in the first 100 days getting flipped school boards to take action. But that's not all. In addition to training its attendees on what to say, one of the goals of the convention was to teach attendees how to be heard. In a session called Mastering the Spin, Effective Messaging Strategies, Christian Ziegler gave participants advice on how to write op-eds, how to put together strategic talking points, and how to take the negative publicity to gain more members. For example, shortly before the convention began, the Indiana chapter of Moms for Liberty was blasted for using a quote from Hitler in its newsletter. He alone who owns the youth gains the future. But in what amounts to a philosophy that there's no such thing as a bad press, Ziegler taught them how to transform negative attention such as that from the Hitler quote into more clicks and attention to draw in new members. So even though I don't agree with the quote from Hitler, we can see where this group is coming from, because they want attention, and attention, any publicity is good publicity. I mean, unless you're a restaurant and people are talking about rats and rodents in your kitchen, any publicity is good publicity. The Southern Poverty Law Center lists Moms for Liberty as an extremist group. Okay, so, and, I mean, what is this organization? What pool does this organization have? The Southern Poverty Law Center. An extremist group? Okay, and? Is this supposed to just say, this is it? This group right here that nobody's ever heard of says that they're an extremist group. So, trust me, bro, they're not reliable. Like, what are you talking? Nobody heard of that group. On Fox News, Moms for Liberty co-founder Tiffany Justice called that disintegration absolutely absurd. She said, "We are a group of moms and dads and grandparents and aunts and uncles, community members, and we are very concerned about the direction of the country." And added that Moms for Liberty is upsetting the balance of power in public education. Of course they are. That's why MSNBC is mad at them. Nikki Haley allowed the Southern Poverty Law Center's deception of the organization in her comments to the conversation, even as she got wrong the label the center used. She said, "When they mentioned that this was a terrorist organization, I said, well then, count me a Mom for Liberty, because that's what I am." Okay, so a terrorist organization and an extremist organization, they want to think, I mean, MSNBC, you guys can admit that you guys think that it's the same exact thing. An extremist and a terrorist, you say it's the same thing, because that's what you call extremists. You say, right, ring extremist, we need to eradicate them. No, that's, you guys think that they're the same thing. So now you can't sit here and say that they're not the same thing. You just a couple seconds ago admitted that they are. The Southern Poverty Law Center describes Moms for Liberty as an anti-government organization, but Moms for Liberty isn't anti-government. It seeks to reshape the government in a way that would essentially limit democracy. No. Having more people control what their kids learn in public schools is not taking away democracy. It's putting the power back into local education and local school boards and taking it away from big government. So that's more democracy. More people can decide what their kids learn about in schools, which makes them democratic. Because if we're asking the people what they want, that's democratic. But what is the definition of democracy in the liberals' eyes? Liberalism. So if you take away liberalism, they say that you're taking away democracy. That's exactly what they do. It's so tiresome already. Moving on to the next article, we actually have a Daily Wire article. We have Tucker Carlson says that he made a, quote, huge mistake getting involved in politics in 2022, because 2022 was a very, very bad time for politics. It was a very, very, you would get banned. You would get fired if you said the wrong thing, censored. You would lose money. So very, very bad time to jump into politics at the time. If you were doing this prior, you can see that the landscape changed a lot. Tucker Carlson said that he made a huge mistake when he decided to get involved in American politics in November 2022, noting that he doesn't plan to weigh in the upcoming Republican or Democratic primaries. Carlson gave his first interview since leaving Fox News during Friday's episode of Rumble's Stay Free with Russell Brand's podcast. When asked by Brand what his relationship now is with former President Donald Trump, Carlson made it clear that he won't be talking about the ins and outs of the 2024 election. Well, quote, I love Trump personally, Carlson replied. I mean, I made a huge mistake last November in getting involved in American politics, something that I've never done before, in making calls about who is going to win in various states. Quote, and I was wrong on mostly every call. He added, quote, and I'm not a salute political analyst. I'm not interested in politics. I have never been interested in politics. I'm interested in ideas. I'm interested in people. And so there's a primary going on in the United States between Trump and a bunch of other people, primarily Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. But others, Vivek Ramaswamy, for example, quote, I haven't said one word about it. I don't plan to, Carlson continued. Quote, I think looking back at the last 10 years from now, assuming we're still around, I think that we're going to see Trump's emergence as the most significant thing to happen in American politics in 100 years, because he reoriented the Republican Party against the wishes of the Republican leaders. The former Fox News host explained that when it comes to how he feels about Trump now, it's the former president's foreign policy views, specifically when it comes to Ukraine war, that make him stand out from the rest. He said that Trump is the only person with this stature in the Republican Party who he asked, quote, why are we supporting an endless war in Ukraine? And he shamed everyone in Washington for having an opposite reaction to the war. Despite his comments about staying out of politics, Carlson later told the host that, quote, he's hoping both Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is running against President Joe Biden in the Democratic primary, as are the ones to get their party's nominations, but said that he thinks it's going to be tough for them. Yeah, so I completely agree with him here. I mean, I can see that he wants to stay out of it because he got himself into so much trouble from 2020. But he was saying the facts in 2020, though. And yes, he did get a couple things wrong, but of course, you get a couple things wrong, but you get a lot of things right. So that's exactly what was happening with Tucker. So we can see here that, yes, of course, we don't want Joe Biden to win the nomination, but we also would like JFK. So not JFK. I would love JFK to come back, but RFK needs to be the nominee in the Democratic side, and Trump or DeSantis, these two can battle it out, can be the primary in the Republican side. Now, there's obviously a favorability because of the fact that I've been following DeSantis for so long, and I just went to his state, and it's excellent. There is some sort of a bias here, but I want to see exactly what's been happening here, because there's a lot of different things that come out every single day. So I don't want to sit here and say, oh, I fully support this person or I fully support this person, because it looks like if I do say this, it looks like if I do come out and say this, then the next day something else comes out and I'm like, oh man, I like this person. I just have to admit that I like this person now. So I don't want to come out and say anything. That's going to be my rule now. Okay. I retract anything that I said in the past about liking one person over the other person. I retract that. I'm not going to say that anymore. I fully just want to take every single day by day, because then tomorrow DeSantis can do something that upsets me, but then the next day Trump can do something that upsets me. So it's like, you can't choose a side. I'm just on both sides. Okay. Ben and Jerry's. Okay, so let's get into the next article from the Daily Wire. We have Ben and Jerry's says that United States needs to give back, quote, stolen land. Native American chief says company's HQ is on native land. Okay, so, this is a lot to take in. So let's break this down. Okay, so Ben and Jerry's says that we need to give back our land that we stole from the Native Americans. Now, their company's headquarters is on Native American land. Are they going to give back the headquarters in Connecticut? No. No. How dare you think that? No. It's the rules for thee and not for me. That's how it goes here. These billionaires, they'll do this all day long. Days after the progressive ice cream company Ben & Jerry's called on the United States to return stolen indigenous land, a Native American chief said that the company's headquarters, located in South Barrington, Vermont, not Connecticut, I'm sorry about that, is sitting on West Abernick land. Chief Don Stevens, chief of the Nurkian band of the Kusarik Abanico Nation, I'm going to butcher that, told the New York Post in an interview, quote, if you look at the traditional way of being, we are place-based people. Before recognized tribes in the state, we are the ones who were in this place. The chief said that he, quote, looks forward to any kind of correspondence with the brand to see if they can better benefit indigenous people. Stevens added that if the company is sincere about advocating for Native Americans, then the tribe should be hearing from them about the land. Ben & Jerry's caught backlash over an Independence Day post that read, quote, the United States was founded on stolen indigenous land. This 4th of July, let's commit to returning it. Okay, so let's commit to returning it. So you go first. Okay, I'm waiting. No, you don't want to? Okay, then. Okay, we gave you the option here. A link attached to the post leads to a website that says the United States needs to give back Mount Rushmore, which is in South Dakota. Quote, what is the meaning of Independence Day for those whose land this country stole? Those who were murdered and forced with brutality, violence into reservations, those who were pushed from their holy places and denied their freedom? The site reads, the faces on Mount Rushmore are the faces of men who actively work to destroy indigenous cultures and the ways of life, to deny indigenous people their basic rights. The faces on Mount Rushmore include George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, this is just disgusting. I'm so glad I did not see this. South Dakota Governor Kesari Newham, Republican, responded to the post by criticizing the company's progressive activist founders for not knowing their, quote, history. Quote, I'm not going to listen to a bunch of liberal Vermont businessmen who think that they know everything about the country who haven't studied their history. Newham said on Thursday, right now, Mount Rushmore isn't the greatest symbol of our freedom in history of the United States of America. Quote, we can't learn from the men on that mountain, the governor continued. We can do better. We can learn from the men on the mountain, the governor continued. We can do better, but boy, they led us through some challenging times, and I think that Americans in this country need some inspiration, and we can gain it from the monument like that. And I completely agree. Looking up at people with great honor because of the fact that they sat here and they founded practically America. They're the founding fathers of America. They're the most important people in American history. That's why their faces engraved on a mountain, saying that we need to just give that back to the indigenous tribe that we took it from thousands and thousands of years ago. Now we need to go back and give it to the people that those indigenous tribe men stole that from. And then we need to go back and give that, and vice versa, and et cetera, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We need to go back and back and back, and then we need to give it back to Jesus, because Jesus founded the land, or God founded the land. God founded earth, and then a tribe came and then claimed the land, and then that tribe was killed, and then that tribe was killed, and then killed, and then killed, and then it went on and on and on and on. Now, one tribe stayed there for all of time. That doesn't make any sense. It's just so hard to explain basic common sense to a person that has no common sense at all. This is why I don't buy Ben & Jerry's. I just make my own ice cream. I have an ice cream maker. I just buy my own. I just make it myself, because you never know what's in these ice creams. Moving on to it could be a big spoonful of Woke that you're eating, just like Bud Light. You could be drinking this Bud Light and all of a sudden you just turn gay. Like, it's the same thing with Ben & Jerry's. You can just have a spoonful of Woke and then you're just drinking Bud Light in one hand. Your life is not going to go good. Just saying. Acting Labor Secretary rate hikes are hurting a lot of people. People continue to feel pain. And this is a video, so let's put the headphones on.
Let's bring in Acting Labor Secretary now, Julie Su, to talk more about this. Thank you, Madam Secretary. What's your biggest takeaway from today's jobs report?
Thank you so much. Good to be here.
What's your takeaway from today's jobs report?
This is very awkward. MSNBC, come on, put yourself together a little bit more.
So this is a good jobs report. This is a indication of steady and stable growth, combined with the 3.6% unemployment rate. Remember, predictions were that it would not go under 4% this quickly. So it is a sign that Biden's economic policies, that the president's vision of the economy is working. We are on track. But the 3.6% is the 17th consecutive month of less than 4% unemployment, which is
Okay, so yes, we might be at an unemployment rate that is less than 4%, but look at inflation. Look at gas prices. This is sky high. Look at fruit in the grocery store. Look at meat prices in the grocery store. We can't afford this. This is too much money. Yes, we all have jobs, but are we making enough money to fight inflation costs? No, we're not. We're not.
Longest duration since the 1960s. So this is a good jobs report of steady, stable growth.
Economists had been predicting a cool down with increased unemployment. The labor market continues to show this resilience, as you point out. So are we in the clear for a big spike in unemployment?
Well, I think that the other thing that we see is great confidence in the economy, right? We have seen the labor force participation rate reach pre-pandemic levels across the board. For women, it is the third straight month of the highest labor force participation rate for the prime age working workers, right? So 25 to 54 in 75 years. So women are doing our part. Workers are in the labor market. Jobs are growing. And I think these are all very much core to President Biden's vision of the economy, what we call Bidenomics.
So are you safe to say no recession?
Well, I'm not going to make predictions, but I will say that, we've also seen inflation come down, right? Inflation is now half of what it was a year.
Okay, what are you talking? If inflation is down, is that why gas prices are higher than it was a year ago? Is that why? Is that why milk is higher than it was a year ago? Yes, you might have kept on adding jobs to the economy. And yes, you had everything closed from the pandemic. That's why we had 800,000 jobs open up, because all of them were closed prior to the Biden administration coming in. But we can also look at the gas prices and see that they're astronomically high. We can look at the milk prices and the meat prices. A year ago, it was not this bad. So it doesn't matter what this graph says. We can look in reality.
So I think all together, we are seeing that President Biden's vision of doing three things: investing in America, including industries like semiconductor, infrastructure, manufacturing, clean energy, also investing in American workers, and also increasing competition to decrease prices, that those things taken together are working. And we are seeing both economic security and growth in our economy.
Markets are reacting to today's news, still down slightly this morning. Wall Street expects another interest rate hike, as we just discussed with Robin and Brian. Mortgage rates are already way up. Credit card rates are up. This is hurting a lot of Americans. What's the answer?
I think that's right. We should acknowledge some of the pain that Americans continue to feel, right? Remember, just 3 years ago, we were deep in a pandemic and the economic catastrophe that associated that came with it. I think part of the answer, though, is to continue to do what the president said. Let's finish this job. Let's continue.
So yes, you're in a worse place now. Oh, credit card rates are at 30%, but let's keep going. Right? You want to keep going? No. I want to get off the train while we're ahead. If credit card rates are 30% now, wait till you're done. You're not done? What? We are halfway done? What? It's going to be 60% by the time you're done? We're going to bend over to the credit card companies? This is why you don't hold a balance on your credit cards, folks. I'm done with this. This is just stupid. You don't even have any answers. You're saying, oh, look, inflation's gotten way better. And then the host of MSNBC proves you wrong. I can't. When MSNBC proves you wrong, you're lying. You are a dog-faced pony soldier, okay? As the president likes to say himself. Now, moving on to the next article, we actually have a Federalist article. 12 times that the Biden White House colluded with big tech to throttle free speech, according to Missouri v. Biden. Primarily injunction issued Tuesday by United States District Judge Terry A. Dooley explicitly prohibits the White House and several federal agencies from violating the First Amendment by directing social media companies to censor Americans. Too, and even after the injunction's release, Democrats have insisted that any suggestion that the federal government is colluding with big tech to censor conservatives or pretty much any information inconvenient to the current administration is a, quote, conspiracy theory. However, in his injunction, Judge Dooley cited shocking evidence that the deep state's collusion with big tech is very much real. Here are 12 of the dozens of damning instances cited by the judge that demonstrate the severity of our government's illegal partnership with big tech. The White House orders RFK tweet removal ASAP. On January 23, 2021, the White House requested Twitter to remove a tweet by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that was critical of COVID-19 vaccines. Hey folks, wanted to flag the below tweet, and I am wondering if we can get moving on the process of having it removed ASAP, wrote the Biden official. The White House also expressed the desire to keep an eye out for tweets that fall in the same genre. The White House requests immediate ban on the Biden family's member parody account. On February 6, 2021, the White House asked Twitter to ban a, quote, parody account linked to Fanigan Biden, Hunter Biden's daughter, and President Biden's granddaughter. Quote, cannot stress the degree to which this needs to be resolved immediately. The official wrote to Twitter, please remove this account immediately. The account was banned within 45 minutes, Dooley noted. Twitter streamlines White House censorship requests. On February 7, 2021, is this the chair that's going down? Oh, yeah. I was going to say, why do I feel so low? The chair's going down. That's so funny. I was trying to act like it's normal at first, but then I realized that the chair itself is moving down. Okay. This chair is too old. I had it for like 5 years already. Okay. On February 7, 2021, Twitter provided the White House with a Twitter partner support portal that, according to the injunction, expedited review of flagging censorship content for censorship. The portal was created because Twitter felt overwhelmed by the large volume of censorship requests coming from the White House and wanted to both prioritize and expedite the administration's requests. Twitter promises the White House that it will boost censorship. On March 1st, 2021, after a meeting with the White House officials about misinformation, Twitter sent up a follow email promising that it would do more to suppress misleading information. Thanks again for meeting with us today. As we discuss, we are building on our continued efforts to remove the most harmful COVID-19 misleading information from the service, Twitter wrote. Facebook fulfills White House COVID censorship requests. Sometime between May and July, a senior Meta executive sent emails to the White House officials letting them know that Meta was fulfilling White House requests to censor alleged COVID-19 information. The email also said Meta was expanding penalties for Facebook accounts that share misinformation. We think that it is considerably more what we can do in partnership with you and your team to drive behavior, Meta wrote. Facebook agrees to more sweeping White House COVID vaccine censorship demands. On March 21st, 2021, Facebook sent an email to the White House recapping a March 19 in-person meeting during which the Biden administration apparently demanded a constant point of contact with Facebook. Additional data from Facebook levers for tackling vaccine hesitancy content and censorship policies for Meta's platform WhatsApp. In response, according to Dooley, Facebook said that it was censoring, removing, and reducing the virality of anti-vaccine content. It does not contain actionable misinformation. 7. Facebook shadow bans vaccine content on WhatsApp at behest of White House. In the same aforementioned email, Facebook also agreed to shadow ban anti-COVID vaccine content on Meta-owned WhatsApp. As you know, in addition to removing vaccine information, we have been forced to reducing the virality of content encouraging vaccines that do not contain actionable misinformation, the big tech company explained. Facebook boots White House vaccine propaganda. On April 13, 2021, the White House asked Facebook multiple times to amplify pro-vaccine messaging in the wake of a temporary halt of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. In J News, we're keen on to amplifying any messaging you want us to project about what it means for people, Facebook wrote back. Quote, number 9, White House demands censorship of Tucker Carlson's post. On April 14, 2021, a White House official emailed a Facebook executive inquiring into why Tucker Carlson post with an anti-vax message had not been censored. Facebook responded, stating that while the post did not violate community guidelines, it was being demoted. Another White House official, unsatisfied with the shadow banning since Carlson's post had garnered 40,000 shares, wrote an email demanding an explanation from Facebook. The official also apparently directly called a Facebook executive. Facebook subsequently assured that the White House that the video had gone 50% demotion for 7 days and stated that it would continue to demote the video. Quote, number 10, Twitter deplatforms Alex Bernison after White House calls him epicenter of disinfo. On April 21, officials from the White House and Department of Health and Human Services, oh no, that guy, oh God, met with Twitter for a vaccine misinfo briefing. During the meeting, White House officials wanted to know why journalist Alex Bernson had not been kicked off of Twitter, calling him the epicenter for disinfo that radiated outward to the personable public. Benson was later suspended and evidently deplatformed. 11. Facebook appears White House censorship demands to get back in the Biden's good graces. In July 2021, after intense public and internal pressure from the White House officials, including Press Secretary Jen Psaki and President Joe Biden himself, Facebook waged a mass censorship campaign against the disinformation dozen and anyone connected to them. The disinformation dozen are 12 users, one of whom RFK Jr., who were apparently responsible for the majority of anti-vaccine content. Around the same time, a Facebook official asked one of the Biden senior advisors for ways to get back into the White House's good graces, adding that Facebook and the White House were 100% on the same team here fighting in this. Number 12, the White House successfully pressures Twitter to remove Jill Biden's parody video. On November 30th, 2021, the White House emailed Twitter to flag an email of the First Lady Jill Biden profanely heckling children while reading to them. According to the injunction, in response, Twitter slapped a label on the video warning that it had been edited for comedic effect. However, it wasn't enough for the White House. After several back and forths that included the First Lady's press secretary, Twitter removed the video in December 2021. The above list is only the top of the iceberg. The Biden administration's carousel war on the First Amendment includes an even wider range of targets, such as the Hunter Biden laptop story, the lab leak theory, anyone who questions the integrity of the 2020 election, anyone who questions the security of the voting by mail, anyone who questions climate change, pro-lifers, people who believe in the sex binary, negative posts about the economy, general criticism of the president. Quote, if the allegations made by the plaintiffs are true, the present case arguably involves the most massive attack against free speech in the United States history, wrote Judge Dooley. And I completely agree. That's exactly why this is very important, very, very important for us to stand with the Supreme Court, because they made the right decision here. That was not right for the White House to collude with any social media platform because of the fact that that's a 100% violation of the First Amendment. Because we should have the right to say whatever we want against the government without being censored. And Twitter is the public square. This is where we share information and our thoughts. So censoring the public square is not something that the government can do. So that's exactly why when we said in 2020 that they're censoring us and we pointed towards the Biden administration, or let's just say in 2021 or 2022, talking about the COVID-19 pandemic, and we pointed towards the Biden administration, they said, no, it's not us, it's not us. Until Elon Musk got in there and exposed the hell out of them. That's why, yes, even though Elon Musk does some things that we don't agree with, sometimes that he does stuff that we do agree with, we have to stand by him at the end of the day because of the fact that he does stuff like this. He helped us see what was really going on with Twitter, even though we knew what was going on with Twitter. He helped us expose it. That itself deserves attention. Now, with that being said, we're going to end off this video here. If you did like this episode of the Demetrius Ridjo Show, please like and subscribe down below because I do post new episodes of the show every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The Demetrius Ridjo Show is copyright Ridjo Studios 2023. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.